Today, the world watched in stunned silence as two powerful voices from opposite ends of the globe collided in one of the most emotionally charged political moments of the year. Former U.S. President Donald J. Trump, amid rising nationalist sentiment and mounting pressure from conservative tech lobbies, signed into law the Global Integrity Firewall Act, a sweeping and controversial bill designed to restrict digital infrastructure partnerships with non-Western nations, with particular focus on African, Asian, and Latin American platforms. The bill, masked as a national security measure, seeks to blacklist unverified foreign digital entities from operating in or engaging with U.S.-based networks, effectively cutting off countless global voices, startups, tech innovators, and journalists from reaching or collaborating with the American audience. The backlash was immediate, but nothing shook the world like what happened next. Moments after the signing ceremony, Elon Musk, CEO of Tesla, SpaceX, and X, formerly Twitter, issued a stunning public statement on his personal platform. Without mincing words, Musk wrote, "This bill is a disgusting abomination. It's cowardly. It betrays the founding principles of a free and open internet. Silencing entire regions of the world under the guise of security is not leadership, it's digital apartheid." His message ignited global headlines within minutes. Governments scrambled to respond. Analysts debated furiously on air. Tech CEOs released vague, cautious press releases. But all eyes turned to one leader who didn't wait, who didn't hesitate. President Ibrahim Traoré of Burkina Faso, a man who has already become a symbol of Africa's rising political consciousness, stepped forward with a speech so raw, so powerful, so fiercely human, that it stopped the internet in its tracks. Speaking live from Ouagadougou, Traoré said, "When the most powerful nation in the world decides that African voices are too dangerous to be heard, it is not censorship. It is fear wearing the mask of power." He paused, looked directly into the camera, and continued, "Mr. Trump, you do not fear African technology. You fear African truth. You fear that our children are waking up, that they are learning to code, to lead, to build without asking permission. You fear that we no longer need to imitate you to succeed." His voice didn't shake, it pierced. You built a digital empire on freedom of expression. Now you destroy that same freedom when it no longer serves your control. This bill is not a wall. It is a tombstone for democracy, for global trust, and for the respect America once commanded. But I tell you this, you can blacklist our platforms. You can silence our engineers. You can block our IP addresses. But you will not erase us. Africa is no longer a silent continent. He then turned to Elon Musk's message and said, "To Mr. Musk, I do not always agree with your methods. But I recognize courage when I see it. And in this moment, your voice has stood taller than many who claim to be defenders of liberty. Thank you for calling this bill what it is, an abomination against the global future." And then came the line that will echo for years. We are not fighting for access to American networks. We are building our own. And we will build them stronger, freer, and unchained from the systems that once told us we were less. The world went quiet. Then the world exploded. Within hours, Traoré's speech was translated into over 40 languages and streamed in over 100 countries. In Nairobi, students gathered at midnight to chant his name. In Johannesburg, digital activists projected his quotes onto skyscrapers. In Haiti, Brazil, the Philippines, and even parts of rural America, his words were printed on posters and carried through the streets. Hashtags like #WeAreNotSilent, #AfricanMuted, and #Traoré'S began trending globally. African engineers, creators, and influencers rallied online, pledging to build open-source tools to bypass censorship, to create Pan-African tech coalitions, and to pour every ounce of energy into making sure no voice on the continent is ever silenced again. Meanwhile, Trump remained defiant, calling Traoré an inexperienced radical and accusing Musk of undermining America's sovereignty. But his words felt hollow, even to many within his base. Because the world saw something different. They saw an African leader who did not beg for approval. They saw a tech visionary willing to speak truth to political power. They saw a moment when power did not rest in the hands of those with weapons or walls, but with those who dared to speak without fear. And now, something irreversible has happened. A digital uprising has begun, not of violence, but of truth. Not of conquest, but of connection. And Traoré is not just a participant. He's the spark. He is the reminder that even in a world governed by algorithms and surveillance, a single voice, speaking boldly and clearly, can still shake empires. So let Trump sign his bills. Let the cowards build their firewalls. Because when hearts are awake and minds are unchained, no wall can contain the storm that follows. And that storm has already begun. In the days that followed Ibrahim Traoré's speech, something strange began to happen, not just in Africa, but across the world. It wasn't just that his words were echoing. It was that his courage had awakened something the powerful could not control and the comfortable could not ignore. In the marble halls of Washington, unease spread like wildfire. Inside the Pentagon and intelligence circles, reports piled up warning that Traoré's speech had ignited Pan-African digital momentum and that new online resistance movements are organizing without Western oversight. Traoré had not declared war. He had not called for violence. But in a few short hours, he had made the entire Western establishment feel what it had long forgotten, the taste of accountability. Every surveillance system built to monitor foreign voices suddenly found itself overwhelmed, not with chaos, but with clarity. Hundreds of thousands of young Africans began creating encrypted communication channels. Developers in Lagos and Accra launched new social platforms titled UbuntuNet and Echo Africa, with the motto, "If you silence our voices, we will build our own microphones." A powerful coalition of African universities announced the Traoré Internet Sovereignty Initiative, pledging to build continent-wide data infrastructure that no foreign law could censor. But it wasn't just Africa. In Indonesia, students projected Traoré's speech on the sides of government buildings using QR codes. In Colombia, journalists wore black armbands with his words stitched in red. "You do not fear our technology. You fear our truth." And in Paris, the capital of a former colonial empire, over 200,000 people marched in silence through the Champs-Élysées holding only one sign: "We will not whisper." The French government, already panicking from its waning influence in Africa, held an emergency closed-door meeting. A leaked memo revealed the real fear. Traoré is not just popular. He is dangerous because he offers a language of power that is not violent, but principled. We cannot defeat him with propaganda. He is not asking to be included in the global order, he is challenging the order itself. Back in the US, Elon Musk remained unshaken. Amid threats from lawmakers to strip government contracts from SpaceX and Tesla, he posted a 15-word statement that only deepened the divide. "If censorship is patriotic, then freedom must be treason. I'll stand with freedom." This time, he didn't stand alone. Apple's Tim Cook issued a subtle but telling remark. "The world is watching. And some of the world is finally speaking." And then came something no one expected. A joint statement from 5 African heads of state, including leaders from Kenya, Senegal, Ghana, Ethiopia, and Rwanda, all aligning with Traoré. The statement read, "We reject the assumption that our platforms, ideas, and people are threats. What threatens the world is a digital dictatorship, one where power decides who is human enough to speak." Burkina Faso does not stand alone. Africa does not stand alone. And to those who build firewalls, know this: fire cannot contain a rising sun. At that moment, the global south was no longer an audience. It had become a stage. And Traoré, the man once called a rookie revolutionary, was now the loudest conscience in the room. But he did not gloat. Instead, he released one final message. No press conference. No flags. No applause. Just a simple video. Standing in front of a dusty village school, holding a laptop with a cracked screen, he looked into the camera and said, "This is where we fight. Not in cities, not in palaces, but in places like this, where children deserve to dream without needing foreign permission, where we code in the shadows because the world was never designed for our brilliance." He pointed to the classroom behind him, its roof leaking, walls bare. This is our Silicon Valley. This is our front line. You can ban our servers. You can blacklist our platforms. But we are not a signal you can block. We are the pulse of a billion dreams, and we are coming online. And with that, the world knew. This was no longer about one bill, no longer about Trump, not even about Musk. This was about the beginning of the end of the global silence around African sovereignty, digital and otherwise. The world had spent decades fearing what would happen if Africa truly awakened. Now they know. The firewalls are cracking. The gatekeepers are panicking. And from the red soil of Burkina Faso, a storm of truth is rising. And it will not be stopped. Kigali, Rwanda. Midnight. A room dimly lit, guarded not by weapons but by loyalty. 5 African presidents, 3 Asian leaders, 2 from Latin America. All had arrived without public announcements, without press. And at the head of the table sat one man. President Ibrahim Traoré. He stood. No suit. No flag. Just conviction. Traoré. You all heard what they called us. Threats. Destabilizers. Security risks. We have become criminals, not because we've broken laws, but because we've spoken truths. A long silence. Kenyan president. They fear the day we stop asking for seats at their table and build our own. Sure. That day is not in the future. That day is tonight. Because they used to steal our gold, then our oil. Now they want to steal our voices. Enough. Ghanaian president. What do you propose? Traoré'S eyes burned with purpose. We form the first sovereign digital coalition of the global south. One network. One cloud. One encrypted infrastructure, free from Western control. We don't just resist censorship. We build a continent that can't be silenced. Rwandan president. They'll sanction us. Starve us. Accuse us of treason. Sure. We've already been starving. Our treason was being born outside of Europe. The room went quiet. Brazilian envoy. What you're proposing, it's a digital non-alignment movement. Indian delegate. No. It's more. This is the rebirth of sovereignty. Traoré raised a hand. Let them have their firewalls. We will have a firewall of unity. One that protects every African, every Asian, every silenced voice from being erased by Western fear. We will fund our own satellites. We will mint our own digital currencies. And if they block our voices, we will become the platform. Then he paused and said the words that shook even the boldest among them. We meet again in 90 days. In Bamako. Not for talk, for signatures. For the digital independence pact of the global south. No more begging. No more compromise. We do not need their permission to be free. Nigerian president stood slowly. If we do this, there's no going back. Traoré didn't blink. Brother, we've already passed the point of return. A hand reached across the table. Then another. And another. No cameras. No speeches. Just history happening in silence. Meanwhile, in Washington, a classified intelligence memo leaked. Traoré is no longer just a regional disruptor. He is building a pan-global resistance. Urgent recommendation: discredit, destabilize, isolate. But even that warning came too late. In the refugee camps of Gaza, Traoré's face was painted on children's shelters. In poor barrios of Caracas, his words were graffitied. We are not poor. We are robbed. In a dim cafe in Seoul, a tech developer wrote on his wall. He gave us back our dignity, and he never even raised his voice. And in a burning world of filtered truths and weaponized lies, the cry of one continent became the echo of many. They built a world without us. Now we will build a future without them. Traoré had spoken. And now, the world was listening without filters.